Hi, this is Jeff, and this is part one of a two-part video series called Easy Electric Guitar. There are many people out there who buy a guitar and a small amp, and they have dreams of playing like Jimi Hendrix or Jimmy Page. The only downfall of that is that it requires a lot of practice, a lot of understanding of music, hours and hours of dedication to the instrument. What generally happens is a lot of fellas or gals don't follow through with that, and as a result the guitar ends up on eBay or Kijiji for $100. And oftentimes when I'm perusing the ads and I see this, and it usually says, I bought this, never used, wanted to play, didn't have the time. Well, the problem with it is that a guitar has 6 strings, and 6 strings can be a little bit scary if you don't know what to do with all those 6 strings. My suggestion is to get rid of 4 and start with 2 strings, okay? Just a word of caution before you do that. If you have a rather expensive guitar such as a Gibson or a Fender or anything that cost upwards of $400 or $500, it's not a good idea to take off 4 strings and leave only 2. The reason being is that the neck and the tension of the neck are designed to pull back on 6 strings, and if you remove 4 of them, it can have an adverse effect on the neck. However, if you've got a guitar that you're going to put on Kijiji for $100, and just because you never played it, it's not a big loss if you take some strings off and learn how to play it. Chances are when you put the rest of the strings back on, you shouldn't have too much trouble with the neck. But again, you wouldn't want to screw up a really delicate, expensive instrument by doing that, so basically do that at your own risk. What I've done, and I'm in the process of changing my strings, so there will be 6 strings on this guitar in about an hour. What I've done is I've removed the 2 biggest strings, or the bass strings, which are the E and the A, and I've also removed the 2 tiniest or plain strings, which are the B and the E. What I'm left with are the 2 middle strings, which is a D and a G string. And it's important to get those in tune, so you need to get yourself a tuner. And they're not expensive, $10, $20 sometimes on internet, you can find them quite easily. If you don't have a tuner, you can use a piano, so just tune the largest string to a D and the smaller string to a G. If you don't have a tuner or a piano, you need to get the 2 strings in tune with each other. It doesn't really matter if they're perfectly D or G, but if you fret the larger string at the 5th fret, then that should match the smaller string. Okay? So it's the same note. And if it's out, you'll hear it, and just tune that 2nd string higher or lower so that the 2 match. Okay? The 2 strings together give you a G chord. Now you might be thinking about guitar lessons where you tried to make a G chord like this and couldn't, and then gave up and sold your guitar. Okay, making a G chord is easy. All you need is a D and a G note. And that makes a G chord. What can you do with this? Well, rather than using the tip of the finger, we're going to use the pad of the finger. And instead of holding down a string, we're going to hold down the pair of strings. Okay, so try it. On an electric guitar with the action set fairly low, it shouldn't be too much trouble to push down those strings between the frets and actually make some cool sound. Play around with that for a while, then you'll start to learn some popular songs. For instance, maybe you recognize this one. Smoke on the Water, it starts on a G chord. Okay, what about this one? Cat Scratch Fever. Or just make up your own thing and have some fun. The other thing you can do with this is you can make some alternate chords by, if you fret, for instance, the larger string, the D, and then on the G string, just come up by 2 frets. And that's slightly out of tune. Okay, that's better. So basically you're going to fret anywhere on the D string with your index finger, and then with your third finger come up by 2 frets. So it kind of creates like an L shape. Okay? And you can make an interesting chord that way, and then you can move that around and make some interesting sounds. Tune in for part 2 and I'll show you how to add the third string, which is an A string, and you can play around with that and have some fun as well. Okay, I'm Jeff, and thanks for tuning in.